Well, good morning. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Brad Urban. I have been a mission partner here at New Heights since 2014. I am so thankful for the opportunity to share my story and a piece of my story with you all this morning. I have to admit it feels a little strange that I'm not able to be talking with you all in person today. But I hope this message still speaks to you wherever you are. And I take a lot of comfort in knowing that God's Spirit and these words are not confined to this building. I first want to give a little context to my journey. I grew up not too far from New Heights in DeForest, Wisconsin, just north of Madison. I was raised in a loving household where faith and being active in our church communities was a big part of life. I grew up in the Lutheran church and always enjoyed the sense of community I found in church. I was very active in youth activities and even bonded with my mom through playing in the worship band together. When I graduated high school, I went away to college and attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Toward the end of my freshman year, my mom told me that I had to find a summer job, so I got a job as a counselor at Sugar Creek Bible Camp, an incredible place that many of you are familiar with. And that is how I was introduced to New Heights. I first attended worship at New Heights in the fall of 2014 with some friends from camp who also lived in Madison. I was greeted with a welcoming presence immediately. While I was getting to know the new, welcoming faces around me, I felt the unconditional, joyful love of God. I knew that this was a faith community where I could bring all of me and be loved for it. It didn't take too long for me to become more involved at New Heights. I started to help on Wednesday family faith nights with the skit team, a role that you do still see me in. I loved becoming involved in New Heights because I got to use my gifts, like having a lot of energy, to teach and share the love of God that I felt. Aside from becoming more involved, I got to know the mission partners at New Heights, members of my home faith community beyond the church building. I got to know these people as far more than fellow congregation members. New Heights became a true community for me. I was part of a group of people grounded in something bigger, something more powerful. These were people I shared my faith with, my life with, laughed and cried with, people who I loved and cared deeply about, and people who made me feel the same way. New Heights is a place where it is very easy to feel God's love, and I certainly did. Over the next 3 years, I continued to finish my degree at UW, and New Heights was truly a place where I could center myself and focus on my faith and my relationship with God. I could also take that welcoming, true love I felt at church beyond this building and into a world where I had sometimes struggled to feel that. In late 2016, at the beginning of my senior year of college, I began applying to graduate school. I had known throughout college that I wanted to attend grad school, and the time had come for me to finally make this dream a reality. I spent a lot of time working on applications, applying to a variety of schools, and I also spent a lot of intentional time giving my dreams up to God and trusting that whatever unfolded was going to be the right path for me. Well, months later, in February of 2017, I received an offer to interview at a grad school in Boston. I had applied to this school more because I thought it was something fun to dream about, not necessarily because I thought moving to Boston was going to be in my future or something that I even wanted. But I could not ignore the call. So I put my trust in God, as I had all along, and I gave it a shot. Before I could truly realize what was happening, I was accepted to grad school in Boston. It all happened so fast, and what will always stand out to me is the unwavering feeling I had that there was something far beyond my control in this process, that I was truly being pulled in that direction. I felt that the time I spent giving my plans to God and being patient for an answer was returned, loud and clear. So, in the fall of 2017, I moved to Boston, Massachusetts, a city 1,000 miles from anywhere I had ever lived before, a place I had only visited to interview for school, and a place where I knew no one. Of course, I was nervous, and I was also very excited because I had finally reached a goal that I had been working toward for years. I also continued to feel that sense of peace and comfort because I had trusted God to get me here, and this is where God was leading me. One of the hardest parts about moving was leaving my faith community in New Heights as I started this journey. This church was a group of people who had become instrumental in my life, instrumental in my faith, people who loved me and people whom I loved. Of course, we would still stay in touch, but leaving the place that anchored me to my faith and my God was scary. I will always remember the worship service I attended before moving. I was surrounded by my friends, being prayed over and crying, knowing that I had to continue to put my trust in the Lord more than I ever had. And these were the people that had helped me do that to this point. My move to Boston was truly something I could never have imagined. Navigating a new city, setting new personal goals, and discovering more of who I am was a lot of fun. I was excited, overcome by so many emotions and thoughts as I started a new chapter in my life. I shifted my focus to making new friends and prioritizing my professional and academic life. In this shift of new activity, my faith life and my relationship with God went on the back burner. I was no longer in a place to cultivate my faith in the familiar, intentional, energetic way that I had, and I began to miss the comfort and support of my faith community. This, of course, was not really surprising. We, as humans, thrive on routine. And the formation of my faith at New Heights was very much grounded in this routine. I had a consistent, stable, loving community where I could go weekly and rest in love. God felt immediately available in church and through my fellow mission partners at New Heights. So there I was, in a new place, forced to wonder, what happens when the familiar falls away? What happens when we can't live out the routines that ground us? Where is God? And how do we find that feeling of proximity outside of our routines and outside of this building? The answer to these questions for me came in two forms. First, as I settled into my new life in Boston and had time to reflect on my faith, I realized that I had been exercising my faith all along more than I even knew. I realized the tremendous trust that I had put in God to guide me here to Boston had been with me the whole time. I was able to navigate the biggest leap of faith I had ever taken with that trust, that sense of peace I could only get from knowing God was with me, guiding me, and always would be. I may not have been attending worship formally or going to a building that looked like the church I knew, but I know now that my faith was never meant to stay growing in the ways that it had been. I can reflect now that God was certainly talking to me, putting people and signs all around me to discover my faith in new ways. I just had to keep listening. The other way that I was able to feel connected with God during this time was a little more obvious. Even though I left the New Heights community and was away from the building in person, I was constantly reminded that I am still and always will be a part of this church and this group of people. I received text messages, words from friends reaching out to check in and pray almost weekly. And I even received packages from my family faith night friends with drawings and notes and gifts. These were extra meaningful to me because they were a tangible reminder of the love I had back in my home, the people I had on my side, and the God who loves me unconditionally, no matter where I move or where my faith is at. I will never forget these acts of love, and receiving these gifts allowed me to continue listening for God in places I really hadn't been. I eventually reached a place to seek out a faith community in Boston that was exciting, challenging, and renewing. I'm thankful for this journey as a whole, but it was really moving away from New Heights, adjusting to a new city, and finding God among the busyness that will always stand out as being a pivotal moment in my faith journey. As I was praying and reflecting for the words to share today, I couldn't help but notice how the ideas of trusting God, listening when it is really hard to do so, and finding faith when our world is completely turned around really echo today, especially over the past year. In 2020, we, as a group of people, were removed from familiar routine, from the fellowship and loving communities that hold us up. We were forced to worship on our televisions, our phones, our computers. And I found myself asking the question once again, where is God in all of this? And how do we find that feeling of proximity to God outside of our routines and outside of this building? In the midst of my emotions and processing the changing world around me, I found a familiar feeling. Trust. The trust that carried me to the East Coast and back. The power that guided me to places I couldn't have gone on my own. And the calm, quiet, loving peace of God. The peace of knowing that I can go anywhere, be anywhere, feel upset, angry, lost. And I can. I can because God has me. God has us. in this building, through our screens, in ways we do not even know yet. God is still working, and the body of Christ is still the body of Christ, however and wherever we go. I know because I have experienced this firsthand. And this unwavering, unconditional, unbreakable love is absolutely a reason to have faith. Thank you. And next, the Vision Team President Gary Damashki is going to lead us in communion. Thanks, Gary.